2020 Sports with Mark Green.
Gives the ball to Brandon. Down the left side. Mills to the net. Just stuffed it home with 2 hands.
Cleveland embarrasses Orlando. Good morning. Mike Breen with sports. Joe Tate, voice of the Cavs, with the call. Last night in Orlando, the Magic scored 57 points for the entire game, tying an NBA record for fewest points. Cavaliers scored only 84, and they still won by 27. Gerald Wilkins, he led the Magic with 10 points. The leading scorer had only 10. Wilkins was asked if he has harsh feelings for the Cavs after the way the Cavaliers humiliated them.
Oh, yeah, I'm hoping they lose in every game. It's no question about that.
Yeah. I hear that. Mike Fratello still working his wonders in Cleveland. The Knicks beat the New Jersey Nets 109-102 at the Meadowlands. Knicks bad one night, strong the next. Charlie Ward was asked if they'll ever win 2 in a row.
You never know.
Former Heisman winner with a very candid answer for the Knicks, who will try it again on Friday in Miami. Utah Jazz, a 12-game win streak. Jazz topped the L.A. Lakers 101-75 in Salt Lake City. Carl the Mailman Malone raised some eyebrows when he said they can keep winning if they remain confident and cut back on the marijuana.
As long as we believe in ourselves and don't get too high.
The mailman said not everyone on the team was smoking weed, but there have been several pot parties while the team was on a recent road trip.
You're just beyond stupid.
Good game in Vancouver. Grizzlies lost by 47 in overtime to Indiana. 127-80 the final score there. College basketball, Villanova downs Providence 75-64. And in baseball, Cecil Fielder wants out. Despite winning a World Series with the Yankees this past year, Cecil wants to go somewhere where he plays every day.
Get out, you fat moose.
The modest fat moose explained why.
I'm the best in the 90s, and I think a lot of people keep forgetting that. I'm the best. As far as home runs and RBIs go, I'm the best.
You're a fat pig.
You're a fat pig. You can barely run the bases, so.
Fat pig will run the bases for someone else next year, perhaps.
25 after the hour here in the Imus in the Morning program. The Imus in the Morning Business Travelers Forecast is sponsored by the technologically advanced Fujifilm. Why use a film that can't keep up? Well, in San Francisco today, it's going to be 58 degrees. In Palm Springs, it's going to be 71. Down there in Tucson, with old Tom Hassey, that bunch.
Yeah.
It's going to be 72 degrees. Are we going to go back to Tucson ever, I wonder?
I would
That's fun, wasn't
so,
it?
Sure.
What's the name of that hotel we stayed at? I like that.
I can't remember that.
In Dallas, it's only going to be 64, so Walter Henry Hagen down there listening. I hope you put on a sweater today.
You darn tootin'.
So that's the Imus in the Morning Business Travelers Forecast. Well, I talked to my friend John Colucci over at Executive Jet. Mr. Colucci, former member of the Lucchese crime family, but he's one of the few people who's managed to cut his ties to organized crime and to become a legitimate figure in...
Way to ingratiate yourself.
I'm American. So now I am going to fly on Executive Jet out to Durango.
Oh, you are?
I'm going to fly on the new Citation 10, the fastest business jet on the planet.
Yeah. Did you say a citation?
The Citation 10. I'm going to test this one out.
Okay.
What's the matter with that?
Nothing.
It's that new plane.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
Oh, wait a minute. Now what's wrong?
No, I think, there's absolutely nothing wrong. It's a wonderful product, I'm sure. You like it. Yep. Citation 10. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a nice airplane. I'm sure it's a new airplane. It's very fast.
It is a new airplane. It's the fastest business jet on the planet.
Warm inside?
Well, don't stop doing that.
Well,
I shouldn't be flying on that.
Of course not. You should be on a Grumman Gulfstream 4. Or what you ought to be on is the new G5. That's what you ought to be on.
We don't have that yet.
Well, that's in testing now, and it's almost ready to go. It's exceeded all of its parameters.
Why wouldn't I want to fly the Citation 10?
I mean, if you have
First of all, I have to pay for this one.
cold-tempered Bledsoe.
Well, yeah.
Wait a minute. Maybe I better reconsider.
We didn't. We weren't able to work the ordinary Imus in the Morning. Nobody beats the Wiz Pat golf deal.
Oh, I see. Okay, well then it's fine. No, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
You're an idiot.
It's a fine airplane.
I'll tell you one thing.
What?
Because I'm going to make a deal with him at Executive Jet when we go to all these remotes, and you're not going on it.
Really?
No.
His eyes are lighting up.
You're not going to. You're not going to. We're all going to be on me, Rob, Larry, and Bernie will be on the G4, and you won't.
I mean, I'll have to fly by myself?
Yeah.
Why are we getting punished?
Well, okay, then I'll have to talk to Colucci today if I'm getting hosed on this Citation 10. Although I wanted to try the Citation 10.
I think you should.
First of all, if you're paying a couple of grand an hour, I want the fastest plane to get there, don't I?
That makes sense. That's reason enough if it's the fastest corporate jet. Absolutely.
Happy birthday today to Strom Thurmond, who is 94, and Calvin Trillin, who is... You remember, we ought to have Calvin Trillin on again. I'll tell you why. Remember the last time he was on, he had stepped it way up, remember?
Yes.
Like, he was laconic, could be the word, I guess. He was very laid back.
Indeed.
A couple of times he was on with the Tic-Tac-Toe Chicken. But then the last time he was on, he was great.
Yeah, he was.
And he writes a weekly column now for Time Magazine and Poetry on Demand. But if you have Calvin Trillin's phone number, just call him. He'll write you one.
Chicken plays every day. Back at my summer home in Nova Scotia.
I love Calvin Trillin.
He gets to go first.
It's 28 after the hour.
Yeah, but it's a chicken.
And I'm thinking...
I watched the Barbara Walters conversation yesterday that we had with her on MSNBC, and it was just disgraceful because they cut away for these commercials.
Oh, man.
And so she was on about, I don't know how long she was on, about a half hour. But they missed on MSNBC about 10 minutes of it.
So they butchered it.
They butchered it. Now, and I say horrible things about MSNBC, and I actually don't mean most of them. I said, they do a great job with this program. They're doing a good job. But, I mean, that's just brutal. Because the whole conversation I had with her about her interview with President Clinton and whether she thought he was being candid with her. And, I mean, she was very forthright.
Yes, she was. Remarkably so.
She's one of the most impressive people I've ever met in my life. Far more impressive than,
Pee Wee Herman?
Well,
just lots of them.
A lot of these politicians and people like that. I mean, far more impressive. The thing I like about Barbara Walters, and I'm not gushing over her at all, but here's what I like about her.
Her booty.
She is absolutely not a phony, either on or off the air.
Nope.
I mean, she wasn't trying to suck up to me.
No.
Not that she would. But, some of them do, and it's annoying. Because there's no reason to. Some jerk on the radio. But, I mean...
Some loudmouth.
Yeah.
Very genuine and very appealing.
But, I'll tell you, man, just a very strong personality. I can't tell you, I was enormously impressed with her. But, if you watched it on MSNBC, it was a nightmare. Because you missed 10 minutes of it.
That's too bad. It's a shame.
Now, I could work with MSNBC, and I could break when, we sometimes do that, but because they have to go to these breaks, we've already been through that, they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
I even talked with that fat goof Andy Lack, and, he's got other things on his mind. And,
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it's irritating. It was irritating to watch it because, these interviews have a rhythm to them, and you have to kind of...
Sure.
You want to get them comfortable before you try to get them to ruin their lives. Well, that's the way that went.
Yeah, that's too bad.
That man's getting hosed again.
It's 31 minutes past the hour here on the Imus program. I signed my new contract yesterday for Infinity Broadcasting.
Congratulations.
Which means I'll be here another 7 years.
Man, if you live.
Holy cow.
That's a long haul, man.
Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah,
I wasn't going to go anyplace else. I was at a great disadvantage, by the way. I actually could have gotten more money someplace else. I was offered more money, which, by the way, they could be sued for even talking to me, and so I will not reveal who it was.
Very well.
But I wouldn't even consider it.
No,
So,
I know you wouldn't.
loyalty.
Absolutely.
Left of the company to the Zen Master. I'm going to make that clear. Of no loyalty to the company at all.
No, I understand.
Oh,
You're the
okay.
Zen Master himself.
So the thing you got to explain to Walter Cronkite. I mean, once in a while you'll work for somebody who's a a decent human being. Rarely, by the way, in not only this business but any business.
But it can happen in
I mean, y'all just the radio stations around the country that carry the Iverson Man program. I mean, all of you. Tom Hoyt, the rest of you, all of you. No, the weasels there at your radio station.
Yeah.
I mean, they're that's why I've always fought with them for 25 years because I know they're empty suits and lying worms. That's the thing Walter should have realized at CBS. When it was over, just get out.
Sure. Don't subject yourself to that anymore.
It doesn't need that.
No.
And by the way, the weasels they're different weasels now.
The new set.
It's that moron from Westinghouse that making crummy toasters that don't work. And they couldn't do that right. How are they going to know how to treat Walter Cronkite? They're not going to know how.
No, they're not. Just a new generation.
They're worried about the bottom line and saving their gig.
Bean counters.
Jacking the stock up and trying to figure out a way to get out of there with some money. That's all.
What color's my parachute?
That's exactly right.
Then here he is now, Calvin Trillin. Good morning, Mr. Trillin.
Good morning, John.
Would you mind? We wondered if you would tell us the tic-tac-toe chicken story.
When an out-of-town visitor comes to New York, I usually take them downtown in Chinatown to play tic-tac-toe against a live chicken.
Mm-hmm.
I have found that when I take people down there, almost all of them look over the situation and they say the same thing. Well, the chicken gets to go first. And I say, yes, but he's a chicken.
Yeah.
You're a human being. Surely there should be some advantage.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
And then a lot of them say, the chicken plays every day. I haven't played for years.
In the morning.
All right, let me talk to you about Cinemax. If you're a movie person, it's a way to watch their movies. And, I don't know, they just have a lot of movies. I'm just not into this morning. But Cinemax has all different kinds of movies, and they know, they have almost 200 movies to choose from just in December. So if you're going to get some movies on your mind, check out Cinemax because they got it going on. Have you ever tried a Blimpie sub sandwich? If you haven't, then you're really missing out. For over 32 years, they've been making honest-to-goodness subs served in big old generous portions. Only the best ingredients go into a Blimpie sub. Choice meats, real dairy cheese, fresh vegetables. The Blimpie best is made with slices of salami, ham, provolone cheese, all kinds of other stuff, fresh vegetables, of course. If you want a sub you can fall in love with, there's only one place to go, Blimpie. It is a beautiful thing.
And good morning at 6:35.
This is the morning program. Fred's Turquoise Buffalo Tortilla Chips are available now at all Stop and Shop supermarkets. Coming soon to all Edwards supermarkets. And they're going to put them in some of the giant stores down in the Washington, D.C. area.
Great.
And they are delicious.
Yes, they are.
Now, you will be able to order them from Fred here eventually, but now you have to go to Stop and Shop to pick them up. But, I mean, just people voluntarily have come up to me and said they're just delicious. Mm-hmm. But they really are good. And you can pick up, and then a great-looking bag.
It is. It's going to look good on the shelf.
Yeah. So look at that, man. Is that something?
How hot is it?
So you go get yourself a bag of that, buy some Fred's hot stuff. It's a Stop and Shop on sale for $3.99. It'll soon be in supermarkets all over the country, but right now you see if you're not near a Stop and Shop, then you can call Fred at 1-800-272-1957 and order your stuff. Now, Fred's taking orders until December 20th, but I'm telling you now, call today. And now just don't say that I didn't tell you this. I'm just saying call Fred today. And they've got they've got this at the Auto Body Express this year. They've just got great gift ideas. Starting, and I think the best gift they've got is a white buffalo cologne. Look at this. Comes in this little jean pouch. Looks like the front of a pair of Wranglers, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And it has a zipper. You can actually unbutton it. And then it has a little bottle of cologne that looks like an old whiskey bottle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it smells great. It's not real strong. It's a very fresh, nice kind of Southwest scent.
Clean. Yeah.
White buffalo cologne is a great gift. But I'm just telling you, don't put it on. Because they'll be out of the flannel shirts, and they're world-class flannel shirts. They make a Pendleton shirt look like one of them cheap Gap rags. or the Stonewashed denim jackets. God, those are fabulous jackets. Particularly the American jacket with that old the flag flew over Fort McHenry.
Very nifty there.
Oh, man, just great stuff. Great T-shirts, great denim work shirts. Great stuff for the women's, great hats. The property of sweatshirts, the Anasazi T-shirts. I mean, fabulous stuff. Plus, you can also get your an Auto Body Express gift certificate in any amount you want.
Oh, you're done then.
So just call Fred, but call today because I'm just telling you. Because a week from today, I will be saying to you, we're out of this and we're out of that.
You're going to be sorry.
And you and if it's just, you will love the stuff. It's top quality stuff, no cheap stuff from my brothers. 1-800-272-1957. The Auto Body Express is sponsored by Nikon cameras. And Mark, who cuts my hair.
Yes. Right.
No, Mark is fine. He's not.
Oh, no, I know, but I just like your haircuts.
I'm getting Mark an N50. He wants a camera. Getting him an N50 with a 35-80 lens on it.
It's a great camera.
I have to get a hold of somebody at Nikon because I don't want to pay retail for it.
Please.
Particularly from Mark. I mean, let's get some real here. 19 till the hour. Wally Cronkite and Terry Labonte won the Winston NASCAR Championship point thing this year. Remember Dale Earnhardt was in there a couple of years ago when Dale won?
Yep.
I remember Dale.
You remember. Does Dale
Yeah, of course I remember.
Dale does.
It was one of those deals where he had no idea who I was or why he was here.
Zero.
And that'll be the exact same situation with Terry Labonte. You know, these people from the from NASCAR or someplace, they say, well, you got to go on Imus. And so he will have no clue.
Garen won't be impressed at all.
Yeah. And, well, it's not that. He just won't have any idea what the deal is. So, you know, he's just here. He's in New York for the big dinner over to Waldorf.
Yeah. And they say, you got to go over here, and so he's going to go over there and has no idea.
And they're probably all upset because the guy who owns the car's just been indicted, Rick Hendrick.
Yep.
So what that's all about. I mean, Terry doesn't know anything about it, but so he'll be here. Well, the Walter Cronkite, I have met Walter a couple times. He does know what the deal is. And today, by the way, is the official publication of Mr. Cronkite's book. Isn't that a great cover?
It's a fabulous cover. There is America's Anchorman.
A Reporter's Life, Walter Cronkite. So published by Knopf, and it goes on sale today at bookstores everywhere. So anyway, all that stuff's coming up.
My friends, it is I, the corpulent corporal of conservative canon, Rush Limbaugh, brought to you today by the latest Vermont teddy bear, just in time for the holiday season. The Bubba Bear comes with a cheeseburger and easy drop trousers. Its furry little knees knock when you kiss it. Time to go to the phones. We are honored to take this call. Bob from Kansas. Hello, Senator Dole. Welcome to the program.
Well, dittos from the Sunflower State, Rush. Bob Dole's happy to be here with you. Bob Dole's got a lot of free time on his hands now.
What have you been doing with yourself, sir?
Well, not a hell of a lot. Puttering around. Built a birdhouse the other day. Fell out of the tree doing it, though. I didn't get hurt, thankfully. Liddy says should have built it in the shop in the basement and then taken it outside, but...
To what do we owe the honor of your phone call?
Well, Bob Dole already told you. He's got nothing to do. Election's over. He blew his wad. Got a lot of free time on his hands.
You have no particular issue you'd like to address? Some salient point to make? Intolerable political situation to discuss?
No.
Sir, may I ask, were you surprised by President Clinton's re-election?
Well, yeah. There was some statistic to the effect that in years when Baltimore won the World Series, why the Republican nominee got in the White House.
That's the Yankees.
Yeah, well, whatever. Now the only way Bob Dole's getting in there is if he's got a contribution for the Democratic Party.
How true. So, what now?
Well, thought about trying to get another 4. Bob Dole's very encouraged by that Mama Teresa, you know. Girl's got some stamina. Can't keep her down. Shows what a low-fat diet can do for you, doesn't it?
Indeed.
But Bob Dole knows it's over, Rush. Fat lady's done the medley already. Time to move on.
Well, Senator, I don't want to keep you. It's been an honor having you with us.
Oh, Bob Dole doesn't have to go. He's got time to chat, whatever.
Gee, I'd love to, but I got to go to the break now.
It's okay. Bob Dole can hang on.
Sorry, Senator. We must have a bad connection. I'll let Mr. Nerdling try to get back a little later. Thanks for calling, Senator. Take care. Senator Bob Dole, folks, calling from Kansas.
You know, Bob Dole could come down to the studio there. Get your coffee for you, whatever.
Okay, Senator, well, I've got to go to this commercial now,
okay.
So...
Don't mind waiting. Maybe we can...
Oh, look at that. I cut him off by mistake. Well, we'll have to try and get him back a little later.
Nope, still here, Rush. It's a good try, though.
Coming up, Santa Clinton, pardons for Christmas. More after this.
Still here, Rush.
It's Rush to sing now.
I'm dreaming of a right Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where no liberals hearkened, no Negroes darkened, and feminists freeze out in the snow. I'm dreaming of a right Christmas, one that is free from Hebrew blight. Keep those gays and fairies from sight, my friends. May all left-wing Christmases be right. Christmas. Just like the ones that ought to be. Where endangered species mean less than feces. And bubbles hung upon my tree with Hillary. Yes, my friends, I'm dreaming of a right Christmas with every riot I incite. Be conservative and reactionary tonight. Make sure all your neighborhoods stay white. And may your left-wing Christmases be right. Mega ditto to you.
Balls like Michael Jackson, la 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 la. Handsome pelvic thrust in action, la 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 la. Darling, now on leather jackets, la 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 la. Get that crowbar up and lock it, la 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 la. Imus in the morning.
Minutes till the hour here in the Imus in the Morning program. The Eagles and the Colts on ESPN tonight, pro football. So that's not a horrible night, is it?
No. It's football. It's on TV. It can't be bad.
You know what I can't watch anymore?
What's the matter?
Is the News Hour with Jim Lair.
Why?
Well, I don't know. It's just become...
What's happened?
I don't know. It's become... He's never there, or seldom there anymore.
Yeah.
And the Elizabeth Farnsworth, she's terrific. I like her. And Margaret Warner's fine. And the other woman, what's her name?
Well, how does
Charlene Hunter Galt. She's not on enough.
Yeah.
Because she's great.
Well, so how does it upset?
I don't know.
They're fine.
I don't know. They're doing... You know what they're doing? They're doing too many stories. So they're not able to devote enough time to... And they're doing stories that I'm telling you nobody has any interest in. Even people who watch the News Hour with Jim Lair just... I mean, if you lose me, you've lost everybody, believe me. It's like Lyndon Johnson said when Walter Cronkite came out against the war in Vietnam. If you lose Walt, you lost everybody.
That's right.
Or you certainly lost Middle America.
Lost the country. Well, I don't know.
So
perhaps they'll hear this and make some
they're not going to make some adjustments at all. Jeff Greenfield's moderating a lecture series on Election 96. Where are we headed now that the election is over? And he will be interviewing me over at the 92nd Street Y Sunday evening, and I have to be over there.
Yeah, right.
I know.
Well, it'll be illuminating.
They wanted to get permission to tape it. The people who run this thing, and then use it for whatever. I said, well,
sleep aid.
There's not going to be any account of this
getting out
on either audio, video, or any kind of tape. This will not be available for anything.
I see.
Or even for their archives, and we're just going to, Greenfield. I'd do anything for Greenfield. So
there's no saying no.
There's no saying no. Yeah. That's exactly the deal. It's just a complete and total nightmare.
One thing after another for the island.
Well,
yeah. Good.
And now I find out, I talked to Colucci at the executive jet yesterday, and I flying at Citation 10, and now I'm told by Charles that it's another example. It's like when I flew on the Hawker 1000.
Yeah, please. Like going Greyhound. It's like going Greyhound.
I have to pay for this one, by the way. This is not a freebie. I tried to work the freebie with him, and Colucci's not that bright, but
he's that bright.
But he figured this out,
Yeah, man. No, you'll be fine on that aircraft.
Well, the Citation 10 is
brand new,
the new state-of-the-art fastest business jet on the planet.
And as you pointed out, you're paying for it, so why not get there in a hurry?
And if you're paying these huge bucks per hour to fly on one of these things, you want to get there as quickly as you can, don't you?
Yes.
Imus in the morning.
Stay tuned for Middays with TJ following Imus in the morning. Thomas John will be up right after CNN News at 10 o'clock. At 1 o'clock, it's Dr. Laura Sussiger. She'll help you take on the day. And at 4 o'clock, it's Gary Burbank, Ride Home Happy, with the Broadbank Broadcasting crew. All for you today, and it's all on Real Talk, 1390 AM, WRTK.
All together now. Lee Miles. Secret transmissions. Lee Miles.
The most trusted name.
Lee Miles. Get me to Lee Miles. Tell me more now. Lee Miles.
Foreign or domestic.
Lee Miles. When your car says Lee Miles. Get me to Lee Miles. If your car has a transmission problem, get it to Lee Miles, the most trusted name in transmissions for over 40 years. For the Lee Miles nearest you, check the yellow pages or call 1-800-LEE-MILES. Now bring it on home. Lee Miles.
Lee Miles.
Lee Miles.
Oh, yeah.
Lee Miles. Get me to Lee Miles. For the Lee Miles Transmission Center nearest you, call 1-800-LEE-MILES and listen when your car says, get me to Lee Miles.
I am Imus in the morning. It is 6 minutes past the hour here on the Imus in the morning program, and I'm having trouble with my intern dump truck. Well, he's been insubordinate to the I-man. Uh-oh. I told him to get me some coffee, and then he comes in, he tries to hand it to me, and I said, just set it down and get out.
And don't make eye contact.
Yeah, and don't bother me. Coming up this morning on the Imus in the morning program, Andy Rooney on Walter Cronkite, and then Walter Cronkite will be here to talk about his new book. The official publication of his book is today, and it has it's a fabulous account of a startling life.
Yep.
If you think of the great journalists of this century, or any other for that matter, you know, he's the top three. Edward R. Murrow, Walter Cronkite,
Max Robinson.
And Max Robinson, yeah, that's right. So Mr. Cronkite will be here. We'll talk to him. And then Terry Labonte. Mr. Labonte is a race car driver, and he won the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship point thing this year. And he drives for Rick Hendrick, who's just been indicted for trying to bribe a bunch of Honda dealers or Honda executives to cut him some slack on Honda dealerships.
Yep.
But that's not something that Mr. Labonte knows anything about, and I'm not going to embarrass Mr. Labonte with that information.
Hendrick's company controls 66 auto dealerships.
Making some big bucks.
Yeah.
They tried to sell me one of they refurbish airplanes, you know.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, they're trying to sell me trying to sell the Robert Andrews a G2, which we don't want.
No, you don't.
Because they're a piece of junk and they make too much noise. Anyway, it's 8 minutes after the hour, so all that stuff is coming up, plus Beavis and Bubba, and some more annoying Christmas blues songs. So,
I love them.
The only person who likes them are me and David Hinckley of the New York Daily News. Other than that, David Hinckley is the only other person on the planet who knows the difference between Sonny Boy Williams and number 1 and 2. So it's very sad.
That's really sad.
We're all going to find out, though. I have a feeling.
All right, it's time for the National News. Here with that is Charles McCoy. What up, Chuck?
NASA deciding to keep Columbia in space for at least another orbit, I-Man. They want to see how the weather pattern goes at the primary landing site at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. They were hoping for a 7:33 a.m. Eastern Time touchdown, actually just about 20 minutes from now. But there's some offshore clouds begin moving in toward the Space Center. So Columbia has one more chance for a landing today in Florida. That it's at 9:10 a.m. Eastern Time. If the weather doesn't cooperate, NASA could opt for the backup landing site at Edwards Air Force Base, California, where the latest weather report is good there. The shuttle is ending a 16-day science mission that saw the 5 crew members successfully deploy and retrieve a couple of satellites, but a stuck hatch also frustrated 2 planned spacewalks. Another breaking story has been developing this morning. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat says he will accept Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's offer to sit down and make final an Israeli withdrawal from Hebron. A Netanyahu aide has said that Israeli soldiers could be out of the West Bank city by Sunday if the meeting takes place right away. A withdrawal from Hebron was to have happened in March. It's been delayed by disagreements over how to protect about 500 Jewish settlers still living among some 130,000 people there. A Netanyahu aide says the meeting with Arafat could come as early as today.
Bibi is one of Barbara Walters' 10 most fascinating people.
Yep.
That program will be on tomorrow night at 10 o'clock on ABC, which I'm actually going to watch.
I am too.
Because I'm curious to see who the most fascinating person of 1996 is. How did I get sucked into that? Huh?
I just don't know.
And I don't think it's Christopher Reeve. I know that's your guess. But my guess was that it's John Kennedy's wife, Carolyn, whatever her name is.
Bissett.
Yeah. But it's probably not her either.
Well, I'll take a shot with Mr. Reeve.
It's not Mr. Reeve. I guarantee that. I'm willing to bet money.
Okay. Well, then we'll go with Ms. Bissett.
Well, I think that's a
Weak.
That's a weak guess,
A
too.
reach.
That's a very weak guess on my part.
She married a rich
Christopher Reeve is a much better guess. I don't think John Kennedy Jr. is retarded, Bernard. I just don't think he's very bright.
Well,
that's all.
You characterize it your way.
Well, I mean, come on. Go ahead, Charles. Just ignore him.
President Clinton has gotten some orders from his doctors, quote, keep it zipped for 3 or 4 days. White House Press Secretary Mike McCurry on the doctor's recommendations to help the president get over his hoarseness.
The president is under instructions not to talk to people.
Too bad you ain't under the sand.
Yeah, too bad you don't lose your voice.
After weeks battling hoarseness, Mr. Clinton was examined yesterday in the office of the White House physician.
One of the worst people I've ever met in my life, Mike McCurry.
Yeah.
One of the absolute worst people.
Beat him with a tire iron.
Just a disgraceful human being.
The diagnosis of
He and that little mutt from National Public Radio, Elizabeth Arnold, two of the most disgraceful people. Oh, God.
Little mutt.
Yeah.
The diagnosis, irritation of the vocal cords.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Brought on by overuse and too much time in the dry confines of Air Force One during his recent Far East trip. So the president is said to be whispering, man, and scribbling notes and making, not speaking out loud, actually. When it comes to, it's keeping it zipped. Yeah. When it comes to cabinet choices, President Clinton is not yet at the finish line. So says White House Press Secretary, the aforementioned Mike McCurry.
Yeah.
In the face of reports by Andrea Mitchell and others that the president is ready to name his defense secretary and secretary of state, McCurry says President Clinton is taking his time and feels that he is under no pressure. Administration officials report Democratic activist Bill Daley of Chicago, the brother of the city's mayor, is likely to be the next transportation secretary, and Seattle Mayor Norm Rice is a good bet to be housing secretary, and Madeleine Albright, the UN ambassador, according to most reports, the next Secretary of State and the first woman Secretary of State.
A disaster. I mean, just a disaster. 12 minutes after the hour, Walter Cronkite coming up. And now, Media Watch, an autopsically intensive dissection of some wholly undeserving segment of America's media organ by the Dean of Electronic Journalists, Walter Cronkite.
Return with me now to a rapidly receding date of some 15 years ago, 1981, and the retirement from the anchor desk of fabled, legendary master telecaster Walter Cronkite, and the beginning of a transition of the much-beloved figure from anchorman to pariah man. How is one able to tell when it is indeed over, when one is so irretrievably washed up that no amount of rehabilitation or heroic life-saving measures will help? When one is reduced to appearing on NBC's Dateline show to sob on the empty suit of Stone Phillips, that's when. And yet, that is precisely where I was, spilling my guts to a blow-dried rookie who looks to be better suited to a Calvin Klein underwear ad on an upstart news magazine program whose biggest scoop was admitting it loaded a pickup truck fuel tank hazard story through the clever means of dynamiting the trucks. But it's not NBC that troubles me so deeply this evening. No, it is my own alma mater, CBS, a company that stands on my broad shoulders and yet has chosen to kick me in my bulbous butt. Speaking of that, if I may, did you happen to see the photograph of President and First Lady Clinton in the Newsweekly Time magazine clad in shorts?
Yeah.
You tell me we're not saving the manatees. Jesus. But I digress.
Yes, you do.
A headline regarding what has befallen me, as it might appear in the media publication Variety. Web weasels want Walter wasted.
Yeah.
Yes, as incomprehensible as it sounds, Walter Cronkite, a legend, a giant, has become anathema at CBS. Disinvited from parties, shunned at news division functions, and gazed upon in the newsroom itself like the slightly dotty elderly uncle who's just wandered in with an unidentified clinging object in his mustache and his fly again. Am I hurt? Indeed I am. As they might ask on Jeopardy, these two names are first to leap to mind when one mentions CBS News. The answer, Alex, who are Edward R. Murrow and Walter Cronkite? No, the names that first come to mind are not those of Phil Jones and Rita Braver. Two names that first leap to mind when the conversation turns to which network news correspondents have their noses buried deepest in the Clinton administration's plumber's crack. How has such a thing been permitted to happen? How has this celebrated, venerated disseminator of hearsay become eviscerated, ostracized by the company of which he was a pillar, the Bill Buckner of bulletins? The demise of Cronkite coincides with the rise of ratings and revenue recklessness. News executives in charge, unburdened by respectability, responsibility, and accountability. Andrew Hayward, Peter Lund, that vacant cranial cavity who produces Dan Rather's anemic effort, Jeffrey Fager. Am I teed off? Yes, I am. A precautionary note for the powers that be at CBS News. Forget postal worker syndrome. Concern yourselves with old anchorman syndrome and the possibility that the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather might soon become the CBS Evening Hostage with Walter Cronkite. Thank you and good night.
Well, here now, filling in for Sydney Little Barrels. Yes? And answering the very questions I was going to ask her is my brother, Fred Imus, from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Good morning, Fred.
Good morning.
What would you say were men's top sexual turn-ons, Fred?
Oral sex.
Oral sex?
Yeah.
What would you say would be a big turn-off?
No oral sex.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
And Boomer said, well, I'm only 34, and people like Dan Marino, and he named a couple other quarterbacks who are still playing.
Yeah.
I didn't bother to point out to Boomer that he does not have Dan Marino's arm.
Bob Dole's on, for crying out loud.
Oh, Jesus, God almighty. Get out of business. Come on, I mean, what the hell are you thinking about?
Good morning, everyone. This is Chip.
It's 21 minutes after 7 o'clock, and I am Imus in the morning. Steve Rombaum is going to be here on Monday. And I spoke to Mike Wallace yesterday. This is this could be an earth-shaking story, and particularly relevant. It's relevant anytime, but here on the precipice of Hanukkah, right? But Rombaum is a private investigator, Jewish Defense League years ago, and not a nut though. I mean, very responsible guy. Done undercover stuff for the FBI. And I mean, he's a legitimate guy. And essentially, what Rombaum, and he'll be here Monday to tell his story, is that they discovered about 150 and maybe more of these Nazi war criminals living in Canada. And through a very elaborate ruse devised by Rombaum, posing as a professor from this phony university they established with Honduran credentials and some stuff like that. They interviewed a lot of them, and many of them were pretty forthright and candid about their activities in killing Jews and other folks during the war. And he's bringing some tape. You know, they pretended to be not sympathetic, but at least understanding to the situation that these people were in. And then questioned them, posing as professors from this university doing a thesis on the pressures of war or whatever the situation was. Or whatever it was, you know. Yeah. And but Rombaum has been unable to get anybody. The world press has picked up on it, but it's been unable to get anybody who, like from the New York Times or some of these other places, particularly interested in it. Well, I mean, the first thing Wallace asked me was the guy a nut? And I said, absolutely not, you know. I mean, check him out. So anyway, so he'll be here Monday to talk about all that, and then we'll see where that leads.
And now, Imus in the morning, 2024, with Mark Green.
Heat could match their biggest lead of the game right here, and a shot up good, three-pointer, Tim Hardaway. Get him out of here. What zone is he in, and how do you find it?
Hey, Miami wins their 9th in a row. Good morning. Mike Breen with Sports, sponsored by AT&T, your true choice. Ted Davis with the call. Miami whoops Dallas 101-79. Tim Hardaway pours in 33 points. His coach, Pat Riley, raving about his point guard's physique.
I don't think anybody realizes just how strong he is, you know, from his waist down.
And Ryle should know. Sees him in the locker room after every single game.
Well,
great performance from the Orlando Magic. They lose to the Cavaliers 84-57. That's right, 57 total points. Tied for the lowest point total ever in the NBA. Orlando coach Brian Hill was asked to evaluate his team's performance.
We sucked.
Hill a little evasive there after his team struggling offensively. The Knicks won. They beat the New Jersey Nets 109-102. Boston Celtics lost. Phoenix Suns won a game, walloped Golden State. Lakers lost in Utah to the Jazz. Detroit down to Atlanta. According to a new survey on men, most men would rather go on an African safari than to the Super Bowl. In the current issue of Men's Journal, 27% fantasize about the safari. Only 11% vote for that Super Bowl. Also in the survey, 23% of the men polled want to improve their physiques. while 8% of their women thought that their men needed harder bodies. One of the women polled, Deidre Coleman, said her husband's physique is improving.
It's getting better.
30% of the women said they love their men just the way they are. Yeah. Sports, I'm Mike Breen.
Hey, David, have you seen Roger?
No, but last I heard, he said he was moving to Arizona or California.
Arizona, California. Why there?
He said he wanted to go someplace with a lot of sun so he could, get glaucoma.
I wonder if this has anything to do with those ballot measures about legalizing marijuana for medicinal use.
Marijuana? Roger?
No. That's going to be a tricky deal. There's still federal regulations against that to prevent doctors from prescribing pot.
There's federal regulations against killing people, too. That doesn't stop that Dr. Kevorkian dude.
That's a different deal, Beavis. Euthanasia is viewed in some circles as a humane act.
So is smoking pot. How come you're against it all of a sudden?
I've never really been for marijuana, Beavis. It's a dangerous substance. I tried it, and I didn't like it.
Believe me, if you inhaled, you would have liked it.
I don't think so, Beavis. Marijuana affects your judgment, makes you walk around in a daze, makes you horny, get the munchies, and gorge out on food.
I guess you're right. You don't need any help with that.
Why do you think they call it dope?
Why do you think they call you dope?
You little twerp.
At any rate, none other than esteemed CBS newsman Walter Cronkite spotted at the Grateful Dead concert at Madison Square Garden.
He's clearly gone. What would Walter Cronkite be doing at a Grateful Dead concert, trying to tell people he liked it?
Mr. Cronkite reportedly is friendly with the band's drummer, Mickey Hart.
Oh, come on.
And so there were...
Well, I mean...
Walter and Mrs. Cronkite, by the way.
If your radio light sucks in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
Oh, sorry. What can I tell you?
I mean, it's got to be...
Can you imagine?
You have any papers, young man? Getting off of that Casey Jones.
That's exactly right.
Jesus.
That train, I'm cocaine. Imus in the morning.
It's Middays with TJ, Thomas John.
I am Imus in the morning. It's 31 minutes past the hour, and we are at Infinity Broadcasting Headquarters, New York City, syndicated around the country on the radio by Westwood One Entertainment, and we appear on MSNBC Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Walter Cronkite is here, and what a pleasure this is. Good morning, Mr. Cronkite.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good morning, Don.
Today is the official publication date of Mr. Cronkite's book, and it's entitled A Reporter's Life. Isn't that a great cover?
It is.
You just talk about that.
It is fabulous.
It's a photograph taken by Peter Lipke, I believe that's the way you pronounce his name. It's published by Knopf. Mr. Cronkite's also producing an 8-part series of his memoirs entitled Cronkite Remembers, and that will air on the Discovery Channel in early 1997. Mr. Cronkite will be in Washington, D.C. on December 10th at the Sidney Kramer bookstore there at 1825 I Street, Northwest, at 12:30 to sign copies of this, right? And on Friday, December 13th, at the Rizzoli bookstore here in Manhattan on West 57th Street. Do you mind doing that?
No, I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I kind of like meeting the folks. The biggest problem is that if anything is reasonably successful and you get such a turnout that you can't spend any time talking to them. You know, the little soul leans over and says, "You know, I knew your mother." You start to say, "Oh, no kidding." By that time, somebody shoves them aside, and it's all the conversation you get, which is probably good in my case. I can't make any mistakes that way.
How are your teeth? How are your teeth?
My feet?
Your teeth.
Teeth?
Yeah.
That's the one thing that's working.
Really? Good job.
Really well.
Well, the thing that I made me ask that was your dad being a dentist.
What?
Your dad being a dentist.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wondered.
That. Yeah. And uncle and grandfather.
Yeah,
and
the whole.
Gosh, all dentists.
So I just wondered if you'd had any problems through the years.
I should be looking into people's mouths this morning instead of using my own. Be a lot better off, probably. As a matter of fact, Don, my daughter, Nancy, who's visiting New York happily at the moment, handed this to me as I left the house. And I read it in the car. Hardest thing I ever saw.
What is it?
The horoscope on paper. Believe this or not, Scorpio, that's me.
Okay.
You're not the kind of person who reveals thoughts too often, but every now and again you go the other way and say too much. Mercury, planet of communication, is prompting you to talk. Saturn, planet of limitation, is warning you to keep it short and to the point. In other words, shut up. So thanks a lot, Don. It's been great to be with you this morning. Isn't that incredible?
You were born in St. Joseph, Missouri, but were you living in St. Joseph then? I get kind of confused.
No, I never. Well, was I living in St. Joe at the time I was born?
No, I mean, were your parents living in St.
Yeah, they were.
But then they moved to Kansas City, right?
Then they moved to Kansas City almost immediately after they found out what had happened. No, my grandfather lived in St. Joe. They had a lovely house there. He did fairly well as a dentist, kind of a civic leader as well.
And at what point did you go to Houston?
Went to Houston when I was 10.
Okay.
So I had some formative years in Texas, which I'm grateful for. It was an interesting experience.
Well, that's kind of, I was struck by, not that you're from Texas, but that both you and Dan Rather being from, of course, he's from Texas, but...
Yeah, well, he's a genuine native. I have to ride along on this and, adopted state.
Do you like doing sports reporting? That's kind of how you started, right?
I like sports reporting a lot, a very great deal. I don't think I like it as much as, news coverage, basic front page coverage. But, an awful lot of very good writers came out of sports pages.
Some great ones.
And I think there's a reason for that. The reason is that in sports, in reporting a game of any kind, everybody is distinguished, an individual. So they've got to write pretty well. And some great writers have come up there. Bob Considine is one of my great pals of mine.
I thought was odd, I was talking to Charles about this, that when you were working in the newsroom and John Cameron Swayze you were spiking the newsroom.
Yeah.
Well, what a coincidence that was. And you both went on to become, he became pretty famous himself.
Oh, sure. It deserved attention. It was remarkable. He had a way of instantly grasping a story just by kind of glancing at it on the tissue paper sheets that were the second copies of the United Press report. He'd come dashing up the third floor of the building, no elevator, out of breath, a minute before he went on the air. And I'd walk across the hall with him, reading the headlines to him, reciting the headlines to him, and hand him the sheet of paper. I think that's where I kind of learned to digest the whole set of headlines at once. And I'd give them to him. He'd sit down in front of the microphone. Good morning, it's John Cameron Swayze. And he'd repeat the stuff I just told him while he was going through the sheets to give him greater information. It was a remarkable performance.
Well, when you both became famous, I guess is about the best way to put it. Did you ever have any conversations with him about those old days?
Oh, yeah, sure. We used to see each other occasionally, and not as often as I would have liked. John was a pleasure to be around, but sure.
But you'd have had no way of knowing, obviously, then what was going to happen, did you? So.
No.
We're talking with Walter Cronkite. No, you wouldn't. You'd have to be Gene Dixon or something. This book is A Reporter's Life. It's published by Knopf. And when you announced that President Kennedy had died, that footage of you announcing that is almost as famous as the Zapruder film.
And I'm a little tired of it myself.
Are you? Well, my question is that you made the announcement and then you took your glasses off and then you looked at the clock and then you paused for a minute. But what were you thinking then?
I was thinking I got to control my emotions at this point. That hadn't been a problem during the morning when we were trying to pull the loose ends of a very complicated story together. And I think we news people are very much like others who handle traumatic situations, the doctors in the emergency room, the firemen, the policemen. An awful lot of tragedy passes in front of us, but our job at the moment is to get the story and get it out. And we don't have time to really become emotional, fortunately. And that one just hit me at the moment when it was necessary to say he was dead. Up to that time, I guess maybe subconsciously there was a thought that, well, maybe he won't be dead, although the indications were certainly that was the case. But when you had to say it, when I had to say it at that moment at any rate, it was gripping. I kind of think that maybe looking at that clock, I haven't thought about this before, but it occurs to me that looking at that clock at that moment may have been a combination of a slight sense of the historical, but perhaps more than that, maybe I was stalling for time. It was something I could do while I kind of grabbed myself.
Well, I watched it 2 or 3 times, and it's a very dramatic. I don't mean to, gush here. It's a very dramatic moment. I mean, it's just riveting, and then it's just like you kind of caught yourself. And did you ever cover a story where you thought you were going to die?
Well, you asked somebody from World War II of that, and of course there were frequent occasions when I thought, very well, that might be the last minute. I don't know whether they really were or not, but I certainly had the feeling they might be. It's in civilian life, there are, I guess, a few occasions where the thing that worries me more than anything is unorganized murder and mayhem. The mob scene situation is always frightening. Organized warfare, terrible as it is, at least has some kind of sense about it, and in that it's organized. Particularly trench warfare, the kind of warfare, foxhole warfare we had in World War II. You know where your friends are and where your enemies are, and that's a very comforting thing when you're being shot at.
Did you, when people began to refer to you as the most trusted man in America, did you think you were?
I thought I was, but my wife didn't.
Well, is there something we should know here, Mr. Crank? Go ahead.
No, I didn't. No, that one of the things that bothered me more, I think, about those years on the air when CBS News was dominant, and I had the good fortune to be the point man, if you will, was that people they'd come up to me and they'd say, Mr. Crown, I believe every word you said. I wanted to grab them by the shoulder, shake them, and come on, please. We have runs, hits, and errors. You can't believe everything we say. We don't tell you the whole story anyway. We're in such a truncated form of communication that you can't get it all from us. And it really was a matter that I think concerned me more than probably anything else. I always have abhorred error and mistakes in our reporting, failures to report or reporting erroneously, and that was taught me and drummed into me by a very fine city editor, dear Roy Roussel from the Houston Press, and I lived every day in kind of a dread of that of our misleading people.
Well, probably the fairest would have been better. I mean, you would have been more comfortable with that, the fairest man in America, as opposed to.
Hey, pardon?
So would you have been more comfortable with the fairest man in America as opposed to the...
Probably. Yeah, that would have been a good one.
You and Huntley Brinkley were on against you, right?
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Unfortunately for me.
Well, what did you think of that team?
Oh, they were marvelous. They were very, very good. I don't really believe in team anchors.
Neither does Dan Rather, by the way.
Well, involved. Well, not that I wouldn't have liked working alongside Connie Chung.
Sure.
But, who, incidentally, I think is a darn good reporter. And at any rate, having to produce a program, dividing it up between two people, is a waste of time and of energy and of egos and all the rest of it. It's much simpler and better, I think, presentation for a single individual. But I must say they have mastered the art of twin production.
I saw you with Stone Phillips the other night on NBC, and you were talking about how you thought the news ought to, they ought to do more news on these network newscasts, and we were talking about that this morning. You get about 6 minutes maybe of hard news, and then it's the rest of this junk, and nobody's interested. I mean, I know they claim that they have to do it for ratings, but I don't really believe that. I mean, I agree with you. I think people would watch it.
I can't understand what goes on back there in the management and news departments today. Andrew Haskell, not Andrew Haskell, but Andrew Hayward at CBS. I'm sorry. But Andrew Hayward at CBS, a fine newsman, really fine newsman, made a speech out at the Radio Television News Directors Association here 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he lambasted his own product.
I remember reading that, yeah.
Why can't, where is the blockage in his saying to Westinghouse management, look, let us try something. Let us try giving people the news, and let's just see what happens. And we'd be discharging our responsibility. Westinghouse people do fine job with their radio stations and news, their television stations as well. They understand this, I should think, but it just might turn out that, by golly, Dan Rather with the news in the evening might be a tremendous hit.
Yeah, I often think, because we watch the News Hour with Jim Lair, which I was complaining about it this morning, but essentially it's a terrific hour of news. But there wouldn't be any reason that the network news folks could. Can you mind if I do a couple of commercials and we'll talk some more about this book and stuff?
Sure.
Okay. It's a quarter till the hour in the Imus Morning program. We're talking with Walter Cronkite and his new book. The official publication date is today, and it's entitled A Reporter's Life, and it's a marvelous account of, from the time he was born in St. Joseph, Missouri to, well, not right up to sitting here this morning, but pretty close. So, anyway, we'll talk more with Mr. Cronkite in a couple minutes.
I just learned, David, that downtown in Chicago, the police and the demonstrators along Michigan Boulevard have made a deal. The police will let them alone if the demonstrators will stay inside the park. So a truce has been declared. We'll see how long it prevails.
We're outside the Conrad Hilton, where peace demonstrators have blocked the intersection, and now the police are moving in to make the arrest. People screaming, being dragged to the paddy wagons. Police and demonstrators tussling all over this busy intersection on this, the night of the presidential nominations at this Democratic convention.
Imus in the morning.
Make it a point to make it middays with TJ. Join Thomas John for interesting conversation, trivia, and much more. Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. till 1 p.m. Right here on Real Talk, 1390 a.m. WRTK.
Hi, I'm Imus. The morning is 9 minutes till the hour, and we're talking with Walter Cronkite and his book, A Reporter's Life, which I gave a copy of this to Larry Kinney, who, by the way, Larry Kinney is you on this program, Mr. Cronkite. And it really is a wonderful book, and very entertainingly written, and with little anecdotes starting from with his childhood, and it's kind of amusing in some instances. When you and Dick Salant, during the Vietnam War, when you were discussing that you were going to go on the air and say what you said about the war, and in fact, we were just talking about David Halberstam in his book, The Powers That Be, said that it's the first time in history that an anchorman has declared a war over. Did you think what did you think the reaction would be?
I think I was thinking more, and I believe that Dick was thinking more about the immediate effect on the program itself as to whether we would get such a reaction as to lose a considerable number of viewers, probably to the point of alarming Mr. Paley and Dr. Stanton up there at the top.
Because the country was pretty much split on the war, obviously. So.
Well, I think everybody was. Yeah. It was a universal situation. The split, the most serious split American public opinion probably since the Civil War, and about as dangerous in its way. We're still feeling the repercussions of it, of course. I wasn't thinking of the effect on the president at all. I was wondering how he might react, but if there was any serious effect, I didn't expect anything of that kind at all. It was remarkable that we didn't lose viewers. They all stayed with us on both sides, apparently. There's no major drop in rating.
You didn't hear from President Johnson right away, did you?
No, remarkably. I heard from him on far less important things through the years. He was an avid television news watcher. He watched all three of the networks and flipped back and forth. And he'd call on them almost frequently, not Johnson himself.
Right.
One of his staff would call and say, Walter, some of us around here felt that. Well, some of us around here was clearly the man himself, and you can imagine when he just kind of sort of felt that he'd been up in the rafters somewhere about it.
Well, he's famous for saying that when we've lost Walter Cronkite, we've lost Middle America.
Yeah.
Lost America. So.
I think we
I guess what
were a very small straw on the very heavy load he was carrying at the time. I think what had happened was that he was seeing this situation during and after the Tet Offensive, as I saw it, as as the final sort of denunciation of the optimism that the military had expressed all along. You're getting these reports from the Pentagon. We were all getting the light at the end of the tunnel. The Vietnam equivalent of the boys would be out of the trenches by Christmas kind of thing. And here was this huge offensive that the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese were capable of mounting. It didn't matter really who won or lost the military combat at that time. The mere fact that the communists could mount such an offensive at a time when we said we had them licked cast considerable doubt on the analysis at the Pentagon. I think Johnson was very tired of that by that time. We know that he'd been over at the Pentagon complaining about the situation, and I think this was just one little tiny push.
Wow, that's being modest. But what did you think of Robert McNamara's admission that?
I think it's very important that McNamara had written that book. I think it's regrettable that he felt it should be published while survivors of these young people who lost their lives out there, the maimed back here at home, would read it. To be told that it was a waste of a life, a waste of all of those lives, waste of limbs, a waste of conscience. It seemed like rubbing the wound with salt. And I'm very sorry he thought it was necessary.
We're talking with Walter Cronkite, whose book is a wonderful book, and you know we don't have anybody on the program whose book we don't like. So if we don't like their book, we don't have them on. So it's a great book. It's B.B. King's book. I don't know if you care anything about B.B. King. I tell everybody about B.B. King's book. I love B.B. King, but the guy came out of the Mississippi cotton fields, learned to fly an airplane himself, and he's a wonderful guy too, by the way. What do you think of David Brinkley's comments about the president and his apology and so on?
Oh, I think that there's, again, much ado really basically about nothing. I'm glad that people have an interest in David and his opinions, because that's important, and he's really deserved that attention. But he's a commentator, an analyst, if you please. Why shouldn't he say what he thinks about the president? Even the rest of the statement didn't have an idea in his head, so forth. That's commentary, and that's David's field today. I think, why be concerned about it? Why should anybody be particularly concerned about it? I have been quoted as with my Monday morning quarterbacking, of course, of saying that I wish he hadn't apologized. In the first place, I don't like seeing any news people have to apologize or feel that they need to apologize. But on the air to apologize, I cringe a little. I'd like to have him said to the president, Mr. President, as you know, I think you're boring. Now you've got 10 minutes to prove me wrong.
Dan Rather appears in this program, in fact, too frequently. We try to discourage him, but he insists on appearing on the program. So, and I love Mr. Rather, but do you think he's nuts?
Would you phrase that question?
But he's an interesting guy, isn't he?
Dan?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he is, indeed. Sure.
He's done a good job of that, don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. Done a fine job.
The coverage of the Simpson trial, what do you make of all that? Do you think that was appropriate, the way the network news covered?
Well, we have to start at fundamentals in discussing that. It's a terrific story. There is absolutely no doubt about it. It's got everything, including the final mystery of whether he really did it or not, but the characters involved and the whole thing. It's a story you would expect people to be very much interested in, with full justice. That kind of an event in our social fabric, if you please, getting back to that whole stuff. But it was vastly, for gosh sakes, we know that, vastly overdone.
Yeah,
I think the news people carried it on far beyond public interest. We were getting that stuff every night on the evening news, taking valuable time. The thing I worry about, the time available to get some news across, and lawyers on there analyzing and reanalyzing. And quite frankly, I didn't hear a lawyer didn't say something I'd thought of 24 hours before. I got to tell you a story about that Dershowitz. summers up in Martha's Vineyard, and I'd see him occasionally on Saturday Farmers Market Day. He liked that environment out there that we all do. But during the trial, he was there. Alan Dershowitz, of course, I'm talking about. And he was there one day, and I ran into him, and I said, "Hey, Alan, tell me something." There was a legal point came up that week, and I realized just after I'd asked him, I said, wait a minute, before you answer that, what's this going to cost me? Legal opinion. He said, "Oh, Walter," he said, I don't work like that. I said, "Now, my partners do a little bit." He said, one of those the other day had a would-be client in who said, "Now, what's this going to cost me?" And he said, "Well, it's $10,000 a question." And the would-be client said, "My gosh, that's pretty darn steep, isn't it?" He said, "Indeed it is. What's your third question?"
Walter Cronkite here on the Imus in the Morning program. It's a wonderful book. Good luck with this, and thanks for coming over, and it was a pleasure and an honor to talk with you.
Thank you very much, Don. Pleasure to be with you.
Walter Cronkite here on the Imus in the Morning program.
Each weekday with America in the Morning with Jim Bohannon. Monday through Friday from 5 till 6 a.m. on Real Talk, 1390 a.m. WRTK.
It's after the hour and time for our national and international news. And among the headline stories that we're following, the voyage of Columbia, which will make at least one more round trip, another orbit around planet Earth this morning. NASA says clouds have moved in near the Kennedy Space Center and forced the original landing time to be scrubbed. The only other opportunity today for a landing in Florida occurs at 9:10 Eastern Time, just a little over an hour from right now. A meeting could be in the works between Yasser Arafat and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Arafat says he is ready to go ahead with that. A Netanyahu aide says it could lead to withdrawal of Israeli troops from Hebron, the town of Hebron, and perhaps by Sunday. President Clinton is scheduled to meet with his top advisors again today, focusing on picking a second-term Secretary of State and other members of the president's foreign policy team. Several aides say UN Ambassador Madeleine Albright has emerged as the front-runner. Two officials who are actually involved in the decision-making process say Mr. Clinton, though, has not yet focused on any single candidate. Other people who had been mentioned for the job are retiring Democratic Senator Sam Nunn of Georgia, former Senate Democratic leader George Mitchell, Richard Holbrooke, who helped negotiate the Bosnia peace accord, and Thomas Pickering, a former ambassador to Russia. So when will a decision on cabinet members be forthcoming? White House Press Secretary Mike McCurry was asked about that yesterday.
There's a finish line that will be crossed at some point, and some point in the not-too-distant future, but I don't want to speculate how soon.
Administration officials report Democratic activist Bill Daley of Chicago, who is brother of the city's mayor, is likely to become the next transportation secretary, and Seattle Mayor Norm Rice is a good bet to become housing secretary.
God, what a zoo.
What, the second-term team?
I just got a very nice note from Barbara Walters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she said that to tell you and Bernard that we can fawn over each other if we want to. It's none of your business. Barbara Walters' special, by the way, is on tomorrow night on ABC at 10 o'clock. And we'll find out who the most fascinating person in 1996 is, at least in their estimation. So.
Okay.
Well, anyway, I just met Terry Labonte. He's cute. He's pretty.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Like Dwight Yoakam? Dwight Yoakam cute?
He's pretty.
Well, I'll be darned.
He can't hear me because Lefty Frizzell's playing on my jukebox back in the office, and so...
Drowning out the ice.
Well, I made it a point, so we don't need to listen. Call Fred today. Now, I know Fred, they're taking orders at the Auto Body Express through December 20th, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying call today. So.
Well,
and I'm telling you, because the warehouse is... I mean, it's like this bottle, like the White Buffalo cologne. It looks like a little liquor bottle.
Yeah.
And it comes in this little jean pouch. It looks like the front of a pair of Wranglers.
Exactly.
It zips up and everything.
Yes, it does.
But if you wait, then the stuff's not going to be there. And it's a catalog full of just great gift ideas, from these gorgeous Joseph Abboud ties to all of the stonewashed denim work shirts. The flannel shirts are fabulous stuff. The stonewashed denim jackets, world-class denim jacket. I guarantee you that it's the finest denim jacket you've ever made. You know, the deal with the Auto Body Express is if you don't like it, send it back to give your money back. So
no question.
So it's a no-risk deal. All the hats are great. The T-shirts designed by the Oneida Indian Nation, those Anasazi T-shirts, fabulous stuff. And Fred's Hot Stuff. And at all Stop and Shop stores now, you can go in and buy turquoise buffalo tortilla chips.
Introduced him to Mrs. McCord yesterday. Went terrific.
Yeah, they're fabulous.
They really are. They honest to God are.
But not little wimpy chips. You can dip them in your Fred's hot stuff.
Ain't gonna fall apart on you.
And they're not greasy or anything like that, but they taste good.
They're thick and substantial, but they're still light.
Even my wife said they tasted good and said they weren't full of junk. They got a little canola oil and some salt and stuff, but not hideous.
Yeah.
So look for the turquoise buffalo tortilla chips at all Stop and Shop stores where you can buy Fred's hot stuff for $3.99 with your Scan Saver card, or you can order the gift packs of Fred's hot stuff directly from Fred at 1-800-272-1957, the Auto Body Express, out in Santa Fe, New Mexico. You can also get these gift certificates in any amount.
It's a good idea.
And we had to make them this year because people were counterfeiting them last year, which,
jeez.
My brother will honor anything.
Not pleasant.
So it was costing my brother's money, but whatever.
That's solved.
The Auto Body Express is sponsored by Nikon cameras. So it is 9 minutes after the hour here on the Imus in the Morning program. Well, Mr. Cronkite's hearing is as bad as yours and mine.
Here's this gentleman who's 80 years old, and mine is absolutely as shot as his is.
Now, probably should have had him wear headphones, huh?
Oh, yes, exactly.
But I've been thinking, but...
Fascinating, though.
Because...
Fabulous. What's blinking?
He couldn't hear me. Didn't... So then I was...
Did you notice that he couldn't hear you?
So I tried to talk a little louder.
Yeah.
You want some clam chowder?
He's a sweetheart, isn't he?
Oh, man, I tell you. That's wonderful getting to meet him.
Well, here's the thing. He was saying to me out in the hall, he said, well, he said, Andy Rooney told me that you were a pretty nice guy, not a jerk,
Yeah.
Like we'd all heard you were.
Little did he know.
Well, I don't do anything to these people. I just...
No.
Got them all full.
Very nice. A total gentleman with these people.
Anyway.
He's terrific. Goodness gracious.
So I'm so irritated about so many things that it's just, I can't
Don't know where
stand
to start, do you?
I'm irritated with KLAC in Los Angeles. I'm irritated with them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't like these promos they sent me to do. So that's a very minor issue. Why don't I just write some promos myself for them? So that's what we're going to do today.
Okay.
Our project today is to do promos for 570 KLAC in Los Angeles.
That's it.
A very fine affiliate there.
Yeah.
And then it's just painful.
That's just one thing.
Yeah, but it's enough.
Another load on the I-Man is this executive jet situation.
Sure.
Now I've agreed to fly on the Citation 10, the fastest business jet on the planet. What's the matter?
Nothing. I'm sure that it is a fine aircraft. It's brand new. It's got to be state of the art. You're going to be on a Citation. That's fine. That's where it's your choice.
I have to pay for this one. I tried to pull one of these weasel deals with them, they're not going to go for that.
No, of course not.
I talked to John Colucci yesterday. You're not going to run into Colucci at a Mensa meeting, by the way. But, he's not that stupid,
He's not going to be handed. Also,
you won't run into him because you won't be invited to it.
No, I'm not going to be there either, by the way. So that's all that. Anyway, it's about 12 after the hour, and we're going to talk with Terry Labonte in just a few minutes. He won the NASCAR Winston Cup thing. He has he's back in the office. He's got an entourage with him, about like flying a family stone back in the old days,
Yeah.
And he's got no clue. He has no idea who I am.
No clue.
Nothing, So he'll be in here, and it'll take him about 20 seconds to realize that he's talking to an idiot who doesn't know anything about NASCAR. I know a little bit about it, so we'll talk to Mr. Labonte about winning this Winston Cup thing. And my brother, of course, claims he backed into it because he only won 2 races, but he won it. He finished high enough in all of these races.
He won it.
He won it.
That's it. Had the points.
And the guy owns his cars. Rick Hendricks has been indicted now for trying to bribe a bunch of Honda executives to cut him some slack on some
preferential treatment deal.
But Mr. Hendrick, I would point out, is denying these charges.
Absolutely.
And I am predicting that he will be fully vindicated of these scurrilous allegations made by the...
These trumped-up charges.
Yeah, these trumped-up charges made by the government, so... Anyway, is anything else going on, Charles?
Just in, NASA says there will be no landing for Shuttle Columbia in Florida today. Second of two opportunities to land at Kennedy has been waved off because of low clouds, and they're still examining whether to attempt a landing then today at Edwards in California. The other option would be to keep the shuttle up another day and try for a landing in Florida tomorrow.
You know, it's too bad they're not going to land while we're on MSNBC, because we'd call Tim Russert and let him talk it in, because he made fun of me. We haven't talked to Russert in a while, have we?
No.
Nope, not since D.C.
I love him, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. All right, 14 after the hour. Andy Rooney this week is reflecting on the travail besetting America's most trusted individual. Andy?
Do you have one of those old granddads who hangs around the house grousing about everything, muttering to himself about how this or that isn't like it was back when, and bitching constantly about how he's just so much excess baggage now, and that nobody loves him anymore, and how he'd just be better off dead? We do. Walter Cronkite. Have you heard the things he's been saying? He sounds to me as though he's getting ready to understudy Rodney Dangerfield, for crying out loud. Wally, who's one of my oldest and dearest friends, went on NBC's Dateline program the other night, and to hear him tell it, he's become America's most disinvited house guest since Cato Kalin. He said that ever since he turned over the CBS Evening News anchor chair to Dan Rather, CBS has treated him pretty much as if he had leprosy. Said nobody wants him around here anymore. Doesn't get to go to any of our parties. People in the newsroom roll their eyes like, oh, it's him again, whenever Wally shuffles in. Well, here's what's wrong, I think. It's not leprosy, it's worse. Leprosy you can cure. Wally is forever, or thinks he is, which is precisely the problem. He's 80 years old, a hero at CBS, and won't let it rest there. When I'm 80, I'm out of here. I'm not going to try to string this thing along to the point that I'm driving people to distraction, hovering over everything and everybody, till my old gray head slowly falls forward into my sweet potatoes. So here's our dilemma at CBS. How do we get Cronkite to take the hint? Look for a minute at these possible methods I've gathered on my desk here to get Walter away. Cronkouts, I call them. Now, this is a ticket to a dog track at Hialeah. Admit one. And here's an accompanying note to pin to his old jacket he stole from NASA. See what it says here? I used to be Dan Rather. Ouch. This is a ticket, one way, for the Barnacle bus. You know, the one columnist Mike Barnacle is always loading up with humanity's driftwood to drive over a cliff. Don't you often find yourself wishing that Mike were driving the damn thing? I do. Here's the inevitable ticket for an Everglades tour via Value Jet. Alligator viewing from an angle of 60 degrees. You'll love it, but look fast. And of course, the very best way to finesse Walter, I think, absolutely guaranteeing that he'll never be heard from again, this little beauty right here, a contract for his very own program on MSNBC. Wally, we all love you, but we took a little poll around the newsroom, and it's unanimous. Time to stop the belly aching. Put on your little captain's hat, clamp that goofy pipe between your teeth, and sail that silly sloop of yours into the path of a supertanker. Here's a new policy memo to Cronkite from CBS News Division Chief Andrew Hayward. Dear Walter, it says, shut up. We've got a $5 fine for whining. Sing it, son.
We're a fun-loving crowd, tacky and loud. Our jukebox don't play no sad song. So don't come in here and cry in your beer, 'cause we don't care about who done who wrong. We got a $5 fine for whining. We'll tell you before you come in. If it ain't on your mind to have a good time, y'all come back and see us again. We got a $5 fine for whining.
Here around the Imus Morning program, the brother of the president, Roger Clinton. Good morning, Roger.
Hey, man. You watched them debates last night?
No, I didn't.
Man, I'll tell you, I know he likes to be secretive and all, but I must be the last person in America to know that Hillary had a drug problem. Here he is going on and on about a member of his family being addicted, and I'm thinking, how could I not have known? soon.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
Good morning, Mr. Russer.
Good morning, sir. You know, I was pretty nervous when you got this MSNBC gig.
Yeah.
Then I watched you anchor the landing of Shannon Lucid. And I have to tell you, any competitive threat dissipated immediately. As I recall, it was something like, here's the picture. What is that? A spaceship? Spaceship time. Come in, come in.
Imus in the morning.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jim.
Right now, northbound Flatbush Avenue is subject to closure at 6th Avenue.
I know it wasn't going to work then.
Yeah. Well, he took a shot.
What was that?
Could have.
Oh, my feet? No.
Now, Imus in the morning, 2020 Sports with Mark Breen.
Austin and Morning in the game. Hardaway another three-pointer, and he drills another one. Wow, he is unconscious tonight.
Hardaway lights up the sky. Good morning. Mike Breen with Sports. Ted Davis the call. Miami Heat have now won 9 in a row. 33 points last night in a victory over the Dallas Mavericks for Tim Hardaway. Derek Harper of the Mavs knew why his team didn't win.
We have to continue to play the game when there's 5 minutes left on the game clock. We have to finish out the game.
Always a good idea when there's time left on the clock. Keep on playing. That's what the Knicks did last night. They beat the Nets in New Jersey 109-102. Chris Childs knew why they won.
This is a big win for us. I think it's going to show that down the stretch that we're able to finish the game. I think that was the downfall on our last few performances, that we're not able to finish the game.
Can't slip anything past these guys, that's for sure. NBA last night also, Shaquille O'Neal, the Lakers, not as fortunate. Lakers lose to the Jazz in Utah. Shaq explains.
They shot the ball well, and we really didn't shoot the ball well.
Always good to hear from Shaq.
Yeah.
College basketball, pretty good battle in Chicago last night.
P-R-I-D, period.
Number 1 Kansas held off number 4 Cincinnati 72-65. Danny Forston of Cincinnati seemed broken up about the loss.
We're going to be all right. I'm not worried about it. Ain't no thing. You know what I'm saying?
Let's hope the loss does not affect his studies.
That'd be all right.
Well, some may say it's not a sport. A world record was set yesterday in hot dog eating. Hirofumi Nakajima, in 12 minutes, downed 23 1/4 hot dogs. Nakajima broke the previous record set last year at the U.S. Tennis Open by radio talkie Don Imus in the semifinals of the men's match.
Rob and Larry beat that every day back in the office.
Hi, Deirdre.
Eileen, hi.
How's married life?
Oh, it's interesting.
Isn't it?
What does that mean, honey? It's interesting.
I've come to the conclusion it is much better that you come home all bloated from hot dogs than coming home drunk or something.
Absolutely. How about kosher hot dogs?
It's like all this horrible, either pork or chicken maggot leftovers.
You married a maggot
What do you mean she
mean-
married a maggot, Bernie?
A maggot leftover.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
Honey, I'm going to be on my best behavior today. I'm going to have a yummy salad. Then I'll have a little fruit plate. And
And
then
between that, you'll have a
9 hot dogs! I'm going to have 9 hot dogs!
Imus in the morning.
Imus in the morning here on WNAW-FM 102.7, where rock is on life support with Scott Muni. Scott, so...
Well, I tell you, gang, I'm still shaken up by the news. The Wilson Phillips thing. Done too soon, man. Done too soon. But you know, sometimes you gotta look at the sunny side. At least they broke up before they put out a Christmas album. Sure, you know, this time of year is always dicey for those walking the edge between goodwill toward men and goodbye, cruel world. A Wilson Phillips Christmas record could have put the holiday suicide statistics right through the roof. Well, or I guess in this case, off the roof. Although I am a tad disappointed, I won't get a chance to see the fat one in a Santa suit. There are just some people who shouldn't put out Christmas records, you know? I mean, Neil Diamond on HBO. By all means, folks, make sure you let me know when they repeat that one, because I can't think of anything else that'll get me more into the Christmas spirit than listening to that bald bastard sing Old Little little town of Bethlehem. I mean, having the Jewish Elvis do Silent Night is kind of like Bishop Desmond Tutu belting out a rendition of the Dreidel song. Neil, buddy, ask Santa to put a can of Ron Popeil's GLH Formula number 9 in your stocking, okay? You seen that stuff? Yeah. Scientific miracle. Apparently old Ron has discovered that the cure for male pattern baldness is fuzzy spray paint. I mean, if your life has come down to getting your hair out of an aerosol can before you head out to the office Christmas party, it's time to ask Doc Kevorkian to come over to mix the eggnog. Speaking of eggnog, seems like Bob Packwood's blaming old Demon Rum for his problems. Yeah. Yes, me, Packwood's downfall was the wood he was packing. I mean, after all, gang, he is from the Beaver State. No wonder he was walking around with a perpetual chub in his shorts. You know, they're making this out like it's the first time a senator let his woody get in the way of his work. Right. But I tell you, if I were him, I'd get Ted Kennedy to represent me, appeal all the way up to the Supreme Court, and hope that the day my case comes up, Clarence Thomas is on call. Hey, how about that country club in South Africa? Oh, yeah. Guess they'll have a little problem getting caddies there, huh? Man, think they would have gotten the hit in Pretoria by now. Wake up and smell the gunpowder, folks. It's gonna be a black Christmas this year. Fine. Speaking of revolting Negroes, Whitney Houston, you heard enough of her on the radio lately? Oh, yeah. Of course, they're pushing her new movie, The Bodyguard. You know, the one with Kevin Costner in his Mo Howard haircut. Apparently, in the picture, somebody's trying to kill Whitney, and Kevin's got to figure out who. But I'll tell you, I hear that f***ing song one more time, it's gonna be me.
Yo, ho, ho, Santa's in town. Yeah, that's right. Get old, get Santa, pump it up, Santa, pump it up, pump it up.
Imus in the morning.
Are diamonds at the top of her list?